Today we're going to look at drawing our bench plans on SketchUp. Later on, we'll move those plans into VCarve to program the case parts to get cut out on the CNC router. If you want to, you can have this plan open. This plan is where we're going to get all of our sizes, and when we're looking at this project, we're not actually going to cut the whole project out on the CNC router. We're actually just going to cut the case parts out. So that's my sides, my bottom. Those are the only three parts that are going to get cut out. So don't stress out too much about this. The rest of it is all going to get done in the traditional manner. We can skip through these first few pages, and we're going right here to the case cut list. If I look at the exploded view, I can see that my top and my bottom have rabbets, dados, and a bottom shelf. Those are the pieces that are going to get cut out of sheet stock. The rest is all going to be solid wood that we'll use the table saw, miter saw, all of those things for. So my first step is going to be to go to app.sketchup.com. And if you're on our Canvas page, you'll find a link that says login to SketchUp here. So don't stress too much about it. I'll even go to the dashboard for Woods 1. And if you're not in Woods 1, there'll be something very similar here. But it'll say click here to log into SketchUp. And when we click there, it'll bring us to this page that I was just on. You're going to want to sign in with Google, use your school credentials. And when you first log into this, you are probably, let's accept these. I'm going to skip the passkey for now. You're going to see any drawings that you've ever done in SketchUp. Now, a lot of you probably don't have any. I'll probably have several that pop up here in the next few minutes. But we will have quite a few drawings, and I'm going to pull up my bench project. So this is going to be a completed drawing. So here is the project that we are going to be building for the most of our time in Woods 1 together. Now, I'm not going to expect you to draw this whole project in SketchUp. This is just what I had to draw so that I could make the packet that you guys are looking at to get all the sizes. So don't let this intimidate you. We're actually going to take this apart and just draw it piece by piece. Like we said earlier, you're actually only going to draw this piece right here, this piece right here, and then the bottom shelf. So don't stress about it. I am going to come all the way over here to start a new drawing. When I started this, we want to make sure that we choose the right template, and we want to choose the architectural template that is just inches. We'll go back and take a look at that in a little bit. In fact, I'll even start over fresh here so you can see that template. We'll just let her load here. So we're going to come up here, say create new, and we want to do fractional inches. Fractional inches. And now, a lot of people think this is me. This is actually not me that shows up on SketchUp. But we're going to leave that guy in place right now because he gives us a little bit of scale. I've had students draw this before, and it doesn't compute on the CNC router because while it looks proportional, it'll be 2,000 feet tall and 800 feet wide, and it won't be able to get cut out. So we're going to start with the side of our project, and I'll toggle back and forth between these two so we can kind of reference what it is that we're going to be building. But we're going to start with this side right here. And if you look in your packet, you can see that the side is 14 inches wide by 14 and 3/4 tall. All of our material is going to be at a 3/4 inch thick material. So I am going to start drawing right here. And if I have a mouse and I can use that scroll wheel to zoom in and out, sometimes that scroll wheel will orbit you around the project. If that's happening, hold down the control button on the keyboard and you can zoom in and out. So SketchUp is very simple to draw. I'm going to click one time to start my rectangle, and then I'm going to click again to place my rectangle. Now, I don't even have to try to make it the right size because I'll adjust that as soon as I hit. I'm going to click now to place my rectangle, and I don't want to move the mouse. The only thing I want to do is go to the keyboard now. I don't have to hit delete. I just have to type the dimensions I want. And I want 0.75. That's my thickness. And then I want the depth of this board, which is 14.75, and hit enter. Now, if you accidentally flipped those dimensions around, you can do it again. So I could, if I need to put in the 14.75 and 0.75, if I start typing again, 14.75, you can see in the bottom right corner, I'm still in that window, and that'll flip it that way. But I don't want it to be that way. I want it the way that I had it before. So I'm going to go to 0.75, comma, 14.75. All right. Now, as soon as I use my mouse again, as soon as I click anywhere else, those dimensions are locked in. I'm going to come over here to this push-pull tool. It's the rectangle with the arrow sticking out of it, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to hover over that until it turns blue. You see how it's got those dots? It's shaded. Now I'm just going to click, and I want to pull this up to be 14 inches tall. Actually, I made a mistake. I want to pull that up to be 14 3/4 of an inch tall at 14.75. And I'll hit enter. And now that thing will be exactly 14.75. And I want to show you where I made this mistake. So I just grabbed the dimension tools, and if you don't see a tool, you hit these three buttons here, more pops up. I'm going to hit this dimension tool. That's 14 3/4. And that's 14 3/4. And that's the problem, because this is only supposed to be 14 inches deep. If I go back to what this is supposed to look like and use that same dimension tool, I can see that's 14 and that's 14 3/4. It's really easy to fix. I'm going to grab this push-pull tool, hover over this edge, and I'm going to push it in, and I'm going to type in 0.75. Now you see we're at 14 by 14 3/4. And then I'm just going to click on these dimension lines and hit delete, not backspace, hit delete. And this is the start of my side. Now it's okay if you don't know what all these terms are, but I need to draw this dado in here. And this dado, if I want to zoom in on this, I can see is 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. It's 3/4 tall, and it's 1/4 of an inch deep. I'll see if I can zoom in enough so you guys can see that. 1/4 of an inch deep. You don't have to try to do all that at one time. So SketchUp's got these wonderful things called dimension lines. So I'm going to use the tape measure to make one of these, and I'll click on the tape measure here. Again, if you can't find the tape measure, come to these three dots, find the tape measure. But these draw lines that are just for referencing. It's not a permanent line. So I'm going to click once to start the line, and I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to place it anywhere I want to and type in 0.75. Now that just snapped to be 0.75 from the bottom, and I need to go up another 3/4 of an inch. So I click to place it, and if it does this business where it only draws one line, I'll hit escape, click on a different tool, and then come back to it. And it's still being fickle. Sometimes if you hit control, you get the cross on there, and now when you have that cross on there, you can hit 0.75 and it'll go up. There's a few different options with these dimension tools, and hitting control toggles between the different options that we have. So now I've got this guidelines in. I've got this rectangle. I'm going to click over here, or I can click over here, because I want to draw a rectangle. I want to draw a permanent line. So I'm going to click on the intersection there, click on the intersection there. Now you can see it laid an actual line on my project, and I want to make this a dado. So another board is actually going to slide into here at some point, but I want to make this, I'm going to push that in 1/4 of an inch. So now I've got my dado drawn on the bottom, 3/4, 3/4, 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to get rid of these guidelines. Don't want them. They're in the way. I got to do the similar thing up top, except that this dado is actually called a rabbet because this dado is touching the edge of my board. It's okay if you don't know the difference. I'm going to go down 0.75, get my rectangle tool, push this in, 0.25, enter, and I've got my rabbet. On this plan, we've got line borders in here for an adjustable shelf. We're going to skip that. We don't need to have adjustable shelf in here. I don't think it's big enough to need that. So now this piece is done. It's locked in, and I don't want to accidentally change any size because it's the size I need it to be. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to triple click this, or I can draw a box around it so it's all selected, and I'm going to right click on it and say make a component. And I'm going to call it bench. Oops. Bench side, and hit create. Now I can't do, if I come over here, grab a tool, I get the little X saying I can't do anything to it. That's perfect. We want that thing to be locked in and not move. Now, if I go back to what I want to do next, I need to draw my bottom. And if I look at the bottom picture, if I go back to my plans here, I can see that my bottom is the same width but it is 19 3/4. So it's called shelf. We can call it bottom shelf if we want to. Uh, 14 by 19 3/4. So here's the easiest way to do this. When I draw now, it's not going to fuse to this. So I'm actually going to draw another rectangle in here. I'm going to start the rectangle here. And if you see my rectangle, if it's referencing this from the center like that, if I hit Control, it'll reference from the corner, and that's what I want. And I'm going to zoom in, and I want to draw the rectangle right inside of that dado. Whoa, and look at that. I hit Control again, and it made it huge. So I'm going to hit Control Z to undo. Hit Control. Trying to zoom in here. Zoom's being difficult. There we go. So I've got that rectangle sitting on top of here. And I know it's sitting on top of here because I'm going to pull this out to be the length of my shelf. What was the length of my shelf? 19 3/4. Oops. I pulled it out just a little tiny bit, and I'm going to type in 119.75. And there is my bottom shelf right there at 19.75. So I'll do that again. I've already drawn that rectangle. If you have a plus on here, I don't know if you can see it, but on my push-pull tool, there's a plus. I'm going to hit Control to cycle off of that option. I pull this out, 119.75, enter. And that's the bottom shelf of my cabinet, which makes sense. That bottom shelf is longer than my project, than my side, than it is tall. Now, part of me, well, I need to lock this in so I don't accidentally change that. So I'm going to make this a component, call it bottom shelf, create. And now I don't want to have to redraw this. I've already done all this work, but I just need a mirror image over here. So what I am going to do is I am going to find the flip tool. I'm going to come here. There's the flip tool. And actually, before I flip it, I need to make another one. So I can come here, find the move tool. So if I hover over it, it's called move. If you don't have the move tool there, go to the three dots and find the move tool. Now, if I just grab this and move it right now, it's just going to move the side, and I don't want to do that. I want to leave the side where it is. So I am going to use one of the options for the move tool by hitting the control button. And when I hit the control button, do you see how the plus shows up on the move tool? What this means is it's going to make a copy of that and allow me to move it. It's kind of like a copy paste function. Now, when I hover over this and click on it, I make another one. But do we notice it's not facing the right way? So now I'll come back over here and I'm going to grab the flip tool. Whoop, that's text.
I'm Stacey email. So have the following counselor.
Flip. And I'm going to click on there. And now I want to pick the axis I'm going to flip it on. And I'm going to pick the red axis. Now we're flipped, and I'm just going to click elsewhere. Now that I've flipped this, I need to move it into place. So I'm just going to grab the move tool. Sketchup loves corners, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to get one of these corners, and notice I hit Control, so I got that plus on there. So if I click here, it's going to make another one. I'll hit Control again, and I want to just have the straight move tool. I go here, and I move it to there. So these pieces now, this is all that I want. If I want to orbit around, this is all that I need to cut out on VCarve, on the CNC router. So what I want to do is come up here and save this, and I would have saved it. I should have saved it earlier. So I'm going to go to SketchUp, and you'll have none of this. I've got lots of stuff in here because I've used this a lot. I'd make a folder called Woods 1, and I'm going to call this bench CNC, and I'm going to save it. And now I've got my bench CNC. The last thing that you've got to do is we've got to download this to the computer. So you're going to come up here and you're going to say download SKP, and that's going to download this file to your downloads on your computer. And it's that file that we're going to need next when we bring this into VCarve.